Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 106. And tonight, our guest is George Cowgill. George was a firefighter in Birmingham, Alabama for 17 years. He recently retired. Did a Facebook post or an article, that went viral. So we just talk about the stresses of the job and stuff. James and I had a great time talking with him. He's an awesome guy. So I hope you guys give this podcast a listen. So here you go, episode 106 with George Cowgill. Enjoy.
Read it. I don't know.
Sorry, dude. I am the world's worst about actually starting the recording. We shot an episode the other night with Angry Cops. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Big social media presence. He's a cop and a veteran, does like funny YouTube videos and stuff. We did our little preamble like we were just doing, and he went off on like a 10-minute rant that was hilarious, comedy gold, and I recorded none of it. So,
nice.
yeah.
So, could
So,
you say that exactly again, please?
yeah, exactly like you just said it. Say it again.
We'll laugh the same, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, yeah, I thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It wasn't meant to be like, oh, I'm some martyr. I'm just like, look, I've been doing it for 17 years and I'm not doing it anymore. This is why. And, it's as simple as that.
So,
go ahead.
So I was going to say, just introduce, like, who are you to our viewers that didn't, read that article. Who are you?
My name is George Cowgill. I am a recently retired second generation firefighter for the city of Birmingham, Alabama. I own a couple of restaurants, Black Market Bar and Grill. I bartended all my life and then opened my own bars and grew up underneath my dad, who is a hero to me and to many others. I mean, he is one of those true old head, cigarette in the mouth firefighters and I grew up worshiping him. And I knew my whole life that eventually at some point I would be a firefighter too. And I did that for 17 years. Married with very lucky, married a beautiful woman. I have a daughter who just graduated college and a house full of pets.
So take us through, obviously, you alluded to a little bit in that article, just the taste of what 17 years in this job is like. What got you to that point? Not only knowing it wasn't time to be in the career anymore, but to then writing that article.
The two are hand in hand. Getting to that point, I just, like you guys are 24, 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think everywhere but like Manhattan's 24. Anyway, I worked 24 hours and I was the busiest station in the state of Alabama. I was at Station 19 in Eastlake for all of my career. And I got promoted. And when I got promoted, they moved me to the other side of town, to the West End side of town. And that year, for the first time in decades, that station became the busiest in the state of Alabama. So I felt like I was this harbinger of sorrow. I took it with me. And, we're running 15, 20 calls a shift, no sleep, up all night, fires, all the medical stuff, the BS calls, lift assist, car wrecks, murders. And it wearing me down. And then, so I go home the next day and I would be worthless. I'd be this zombie, this human being, no sleep. And that cycle it kept repeating itself. And I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think it's eating me away. I really do. When I first started firefighting, the schedule worked out great for me. It's like, oh, I'll be there 24 hours and I got 48 hours off to, do whatever, to start these restaurants and these bars and other things. And it became where that that time, not at the station was still with me. It was still the residual effects of being there for 24 hours. And that just got me to the point where, like, I think I've had enough. I think 17 years is, I quoted Jason Isbell in my article, a singer I'm really into, and I was like, I've done my tour of duty. I don't have anything else to prove to anybody. I talked to my dad about it, my close friends, my wife, and they all agree the same thing. If you hear anything strange, I'm in here with my cats and they're running around fighting right now. That's them anyway. But yeah, I did that, and I just, people were asking me, like, are you coming back? I went on FMLA to make sure this decision was right for me. I took a couple of months off. I didn't want to do anything rash. I didn't want to regret leaving. And so, I took that time off, and I was like, I'm happy stepping away. And once I realized that, it was a done deal, and no looking back. And wrote that article about it. And it was the first time that I'd written anything about being a firefighter that was ungoverned. Like, I didn't have to worry about, like, well, what would the administration say? Because I've written stuff before, and they were like, well, you probably shouldn't have said that or this, something like that. Anything that they thought might hurt an image. But I wrote that one with, like, zero fucks. So
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I think it's you're in the minority as far as being aware of being able to step away, because a lot of people just seem like they stay too long, or they don't want to step away because how they'll be viewed,
sure.
and they may have realized early in their career that it wasn't for them, but they just hang around and they end up paying a price for it.
No, and I've seen that a lot. I once it reached that point where I, like, where I didn't worry about what other people thought, like I'd done my time. It's just like, at the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself. They teach us that, like, oh, well, you take care of yourself first, and then your crew, and then the civilians, when you're on calls or in fires or whatever. But it's hard to think that, when this job starts driving you crazy, you got to remember that. I mean, you do.
Yeah.
It's important.
Well, they
And
don't really provide very good instruction of how to take care of yourself.
no,
They don't. And they don't tell you what that looks like of,
I agree.
you need to go see a therapist. You need to work out. You need to do this. You need to do that. It's just, well, take care of yourself. Oh, by the way, we got you signed up for that extra 24-hour shift because we're short staffed, but you need to take care of yourself. Well, what is it? Do I need to take care of myself, or do I need to work 96 hours straight because we don't have anybody else?
And and like you just said, they'll say that in the same sentence too.
Absolutely.
And they just, like, seriously, they a debriefing on a really bad call, and they'll be like, well, just everyone's all right, we're okay, kid died, everyone's okay, everyone's fine. An hour later, an email will come out, mandatory overtime the next day. It's like, are you kidding me?
One of the I think out of that entire article, I think probably the strongest statement you made in it was, I carried a 5-year-old girl out of a burning building. No one cared. And sadly, that might be the most accurate description of the fire service today. And that was hard. That was hard to realize.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that was a tough day. I mean, like, I felt like, I don't know. We had 2 really bad fires that day, and that was the second. It was in an apartment building, and it rolling out the windows, up the door, and I was pumping. I mean, I wasn't even in SCBA and stuff like that. And I just saw when the door started to burn away, she was standing on her bed. It was just, but you'll get that, like, that whole, well, that actually did happen. Me saying about the no one cares too, is like you just said, in the same breath, they're like, oh man, good job. Now, how come your shirt's not tucked in, like, an hour later, or, mandatory overtime. It's just whatever suits their narrative. And it's just, anything you did that deemed positive is quickly forgotten, so.
What were some of the things leading up, even before you went on FMLA? What were some of the things that your kids, your wife, even your dad noticed at home, maybe before they even addressed it with you?
My wife and I, and they were very open with each other. A distinct unhappiness, a dread of going to work, a new dread of going to work. It went from, I felt like, it started with bartending. Like, you bartend, you wait tables. Even if you're not in the mood, you're gonna put on a happy face. You're gonna act. I mean, that's what I was taught when I bartended. And I was good at it. I've never drank a drop, and I bartended my whole life and made great money doing it. And it's just because I could put on a happy face, even if I didn't want to be there. And that just became more and more common with firefighting, is that I didn't want to be there, like not just like, oh man, I wish I could, duck out this shift. Like, I dreaded going. I dreaded getting my ass handed to me for 24 hours. The administration right now, the last few years, has been awful. I mean, I know everyone says about the job, oh, they hate their bosses. But I mean, I've been doing this for 17 years, but the last couple of years, this administration is really bad, very unsupportive, very our way, the mandatory overtime, and we don't care what you did. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was supporting us either. And she noticed it when we were talking about it. And I became withdrawn. I take my anger out at the gym, and I play ice hockey. I've got outlets for that kind of frustration, but just my general mood, this job was just eating it alive. So I think that was the first thing she noticed, and we started talking about it, and it got worse and worse. It never got better, and it started reaching a point where it was like, look, if you want to leave, let's do this. So
You're lucky to have that type of support at home.
Man, absolutely. I tell people joking, I said, I don't have a lot of close friends, but the ones I do, man, they'll go to war with me. And when I say close friends, my wife and my daughter, I mean, the smartest people I know. And very supportive. And my dad, he's been there. He came on in 1976 in Birmingham, inexplicably. And I've told this story before in an interview. They didn't go to rookie school. They just came out and went straight to the field. So you're hired here. You're a firefighter. Here's your helmet and your jacket. You're a firefighter. And that night they had a first line fire, and he was scared as shit. And we still talk about it. He's like, I'll never forget it. I had no idea what to do. They're talking about pull the line and catch the hose. I mean, I don't know how to do anything. And so he came up on our different time and did 2.5 decades of that stuff. So
I'm curious if you've had these conversations with your dad, because Jeremy and I have had him on the show. I think a lot of major metropolitan areas, if you talk to other guys, there's been a massive disconnect between administration and the line personnel. Clearly, you've probably had it down there. What, especially in talking with your dad, where did that start? Why did some of the model image of this job, the cigarette in the mouth, like why did all those great guys get into administration and create such a disconnect in the fire service now?
I don't even think they did. I just think that it just evolves that way. Like the people that all of a sudden the people that get promoted, shoot, I don't even know how I got promoted. I'm terrible at tests, and I promoted lieutenant. I got that high, and it just became the process of getting promoted became like who was good at tests more so, and who wanted to advance. Like I've got a really close friend, Michael Israel. He's a chief of Birmingham now, battalion chief, and he's a great guy, and he's a man's man. He's got your back and all that. But he forced me to get promoted. He forced me, and the whole time I'm like, I don't want to get promoted, because going in that door with that nozzle, I mean that's what I live for. I mean, that you guys have done it. I mean, it's an amazing feeling to go in that door first with that nozzle. I loved it, and you get people that are in this profession that's not their agenda. They don't want to fight fire. They don't. They want to. It's some sort of admin job. They want to keep going and become chiefs and stuff and tell other people what to do. When that, I mean, again, I wrote in the article that they're scared of fire. You know, I've got lieutenants and officers I've talked to that they're openly like, I'm not going in a house fire. I don't like fire. You know, I refuse to go in. And that's always blown my mind, you know, because it's literally the firefighter, you know.
Yeah, it's the name of the profession.
I know,
I mean,
like
you
it's
know,
baffling.
you need those. It takes all kinds, right? We've heard that saying. You need the people that are good at administration and things like that. But from my perspective and seeing, because I've got 18, working on my 19th year, um, it seems like a lot of the guys who, or girls, or whatever, who would make the best leaders have no interest in advancing as far as,
Yeah.
getting to captain, lieutenant, battalion chief, all that stuff. And it is like in your case where somebody has to go, hey, you need to get promoted. So I'm going to drag you along. Let's go. And those are the people that need to get promoted that don't have an interest in it. The guys and the people that want to be first in the door, that want to do all that stuff because you have valuable knowledge that you can then be a leader and instill that in the next generation. And I think
Right.
what happens is like stuff skips a generation. You have all those, those gators, those smoke eaters. Well, they got promoted young or didn't promote or whatever, and they're gone from the job now, and we don't have that generation to build it up. I mean, we were talking about this the other day at the station. Like we used to have, station days or chore days, where on Monday it would be this and Tuesday it would be this. And I can remember whenever I first came on of doing all those things. And then somewhere in the past, I would say 10 years, it's rare that you go to a station and see them doing those chores on that day.
Even see
Now,
it posted.
yeah. I mean, now chores still get done mostly, but that tradition of doing it on that day at that time, that's gone.
Oh
And
yeah.
we've lost a lot of those traditions that I think instilled that camaraderie. And we go to these big fancy stations or whatever with these, everybody's got their own bunk room and cubicle, and it really detracts from the camaraderie. Because whenever I came on, it was all open bunks.
Sure.
So you didn't have people going to their room and hanging out in their little cubicle. Everybody was in the day room. You were playing cards, you were doing chores, you were watching TV together, you were doing stuff together. And now it's just, that's gone.
I know for our job, I think of our 35 stations that we have, I'm one of two with just a kitchen table and an open bunk room.
Yeah.
We've built these monstrosities of stations that, I mean, I guess look cool, but it's so easy to just separate and do your own thing that the camaraderie, like you said, it's just gone.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that impacts the rest of the profession.
Yeah.
And
It waters it down to becoming just a job.
yeah.
Like, are we cussing on here? I know you
Oh,
guys.
fuck
Yeah.
yeah, we are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I never know.
We-
I'm like,
We've already been shadow banned on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Like,
so.
hey man, you watch the language. It waters it down just to another profession. Y'all, you guys, me, anyone in their right mind didn't take this job for fucking money, man. It's not for the paycheck. It's not. There's a gas station here, Bucky's. Do you guys have those?
We just got one here in
Wait,
our
we
state
just got
not
one
too long
here.
ago.
Yeah.
It's on the way to the gym. They start out their managers like $26 an hour. I mean, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, we have Quick Trip here. That's the same.
It's
You
the
can,
same thing.
yeah,
but
you can go to Quick Trip and make all kinds of money.
my God. But like See, I told you. You hear those guys down there? I'm sorry. Um, but I started the job. My dad did it. I knew I was going to do it. I hold firefighters, police in extremely high regard, and I'm terrible with guns, so I knew I was going to be a firefighter. And it's because I wanted to do something that mattered. I wanted to do something that mattered with my life, and I think that profession, this profession, it is that, it has been that, it can be that, but I just feel like the more lately in the last few years, like you said about, it's dwindling down into something to just a job, to just
Yeah.
a city worker, like I'm eventually they're going to quit calling us firefighters. They are. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It
it's going to
is.
be first responders or EMTs, whatever, but last of our kind.
Well,
Um,
like in our city, and probably with a lot of cities, I could go, you could go work for the water department of your city and probably still be on the lateral same pay scale.
sure.
And people aren't spitting on you. People aren't assaulting you. People aren't motherfucking you up and down. People, there ain't no fucking Chicago water department to tell you how to do your fucking job
Yeah.
that, that the public watches. And we have turned in, and, this could go, we could open up a big old can of worms, but Jeremy and I have talked about it before, just even with the integration of the fire department and the EMS. So we're integrating healthcare, thinking that this idea that, you called us, but then you want to be the expert, and everybody's self-entitlement and everybody thinking they know what to do. It makes you, and I'm sure you've probably done it too, throw your hands up in the air and go, why the fuck are we here?
Yeah.
If you know so much, why are we here? And
Yeah.
it's so common. It's so more like more and more so common. We've had nurses on here that have gotten their asses beat. We've had cops on here that have been put in stupid situations. I mean, shit, you had a goddamn gun to your head.
Yeah.
Like that. I can hear, and there's always that one person that's like, well, this is what you signed up for. Well, maybe you
Oh
should
my
do the
God.
job.
I love those.
This is what the job entails. No, it doesn't. It at no point in any firefighter application process will you find you may have a gun to your head, you're going to get motherfucked by the public. If you can find me that, I'll quit today.
I told them, hang on, let me shut this door real quick. 1 second. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good, man.
I told them another question I've gotten in an interview was, what would you tell people that just came on or in rookie school? And I tell them that you have to be prepared for anything on this job. And I don't mean in fires, and I don't mean stuff that they didn't even mention in rookie school. They never. I mean, I knew it would happen. I'm not an idiot. I know how the world works, and you go into these bad neighborhoods, and you're not going to get the best response from everyone. But the amount of violence that has been directed at us, at me as a firefighter on the job, like I had no idea. I mean, I just, like I wrote, we just laugh at it. I mean, all that's what you can do afterwards, but you get called to a call, and they want to attack you for, not helping somebody. I've been attacked, someone, I mean, they were as dead could be. And we still did CPR just to appease people, and got attacked because we didn't bring them back to life. So I think there's so many people, like, this is what you signed up for. Like, no matter, even if it is, it's a fucking crazy job, So
We have in our city.
she's like, who are you talking to? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, in our city, the last 4 years we've broken. So we broke it in 2018, and we've rebroke it every year since our homicide record, and then also our bullet to skin record. And it's something I've been struggling with, and I've even ranted on the show about it before. Is just I've always been able to handle just about anything. I just hate seeing what one human can do to another one. That's one I just don't know that they can ever quite prepare you for until you see it. And it's even on another layer of that, being a black firefighter in the inner city. like seeing, I remember back, God, what, 2 years ago with the George Floyd protests, I ran 5 black dudes shot dead in the street that week, and then watched everybody want to scream and yell about racism and not caring about black lives. And it's hard, like, just kind of like, they just don't teach you. They don't, and there is no, I don't care what they say, there is no damn employee program that's going to be like, hey, this is how you deal with this shit. And it's frustrating. But
Well, and on that note, though, I mean, how are they gonna teach you or prepare you for that kind of stuff in any academy or rookie school that you're going to go to? I mean, it's really one of the aspects of the job that until you see it firsthand, you can get told about it all the time. You can get told, hey, you are at some point in your career, you are going to carry a dead baby out of a house. You are going to do CPR on multiple people and you're not going to get them back. Or you're going to have to cut a mom and her baby out of a car and the mom's going to be dead and the baby's going to be fine, or vice versa. I mean, they can tell you that stuff, but mentally, you're not prepared for it because either one, you don't think that it's going to happen to you. You're going to save everybody because you're the best thing that's ever happened to firefighting and EMS, or two, it just doesn't even register in your mind.
How can it?
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm sure you've seen this, George. Like, there are things that you could tell people that it just would not register. The classic, what's the worst thing you ever seen bullshit. Like, and I'm not even going to take the fucking, oh, you don't want to know. Seen so many. I could tell you things that would not fucking register. Like you said, Jeremy, like you cannot comprehend them.
Yeah.
Just
when you work in a profession, especially in these cities like we have, and you get called to it's your job to get called to the worst things that could possibly be seen. It's hard to process that. It takes a special kind of person. It does. And that's what I think. My shelf life was 17 years of it. I felt like, real quick example, we got called to an overdose. Apartment, bad neighborhood, not even late. I think the sun was still up. It was early, 5 or 6 p.m. And he ended up dying, heroin overdose in an apartment. But it was like one of these little like pads. I don't even know if someone lived there. There's just tons of people coming in. No police, just 3 of us. And actually there was 5 of the medics showed up too there. So there's 5 of us working. I'm in charge, yay me. And crowd surrounds us in a small little 2-bedroom, just a little shanty apartment, watching us work them, telling us that we'd better fucking bring him back. We're down there. So doing all that, and I'm on the radio telling them that we need to rush on police and dispatch. I can't remember what happened, but they said they didn't hear me. I repeated myself. And when we got done with that call and got out of there, person died. I got a writ for rude to dispatch. They said that I shouldn't have asked for police twice. And like, I had friends in dispatch. I don't know who it was, but I mean, I got a writ for it. I was like, we're in a situation of violence, of us getting hurt. And they're in a desk in a building, 10 miles away. I need support here. I'm a nice person. I know I look crazy. I do. Ask these guys in Birmingham, man. You'll run into someone in Birmingham, ask them, like, was George nice? Like, oh my God, he's the nicest guy ever. I'm nice. I go out of my way to be nice. But I was just like, we needed the fucking police. We needed somebody there with some weapons or something. And it's that lack of support on top of seeing all this bad stuff that it stings,
I had the exact, I think about the call. I had a 5-person shooting in an entertainment district, and I've got 2 ambulances, and they're calling for mutual aid from different cities for the next 3. So, I mean, it's one of those, hey, you're going to be a minute, and we're getting beer bottles thrown at our ambulance, and the cops are getting overrun, and they've put out a city assist. And it's just one of those, like, this is going to hell in a handbasket. And after it was done, they're like, "Hey, great scene management. You know, you did what you needed to do. Let's try not to say fuck on the radio." That's what you got out of that. And all that.
Yeah. Out of all that, I'm calling fucking Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
And fuck is what you are. Okay. All right. That's, that's the disheartening part of dealing with administration who are so removed from being in the street.
Sure.
Because, and that's part of it, I think, is whenever they get to that level, they haven't ran calls in probably 10 years, if not longer. And in the last 10 years, our job has changed dramatically, probably more than any other 10-year span in firefighting, I would say. The call volume has just exploded. The new stuff that we have to deal with is so much worse than anything they were dealing with, 15, 20 years ago. And it's just, there's a disconnect. It's different now and they don't get it.
It's something. Not plugging my spots, my other job. I have 2 restaurants, 70 employees, and I'm telling you, I try and take to heart lessons from the fire department, both good and bad, as far as a chain of command or giving them the support they need. And that's not even a life-saving job. That's just fucking waiting tables and cooking, But I try and be empathetic to everyone's situations, in contrast to, like, it's always in the back of my mind that, when I didn't feel the support from the fire department and the administration, because it's been forever since I've done these jobs, and they'll get into it with the table and they'll, sometimes I'll think they're in the wrong or in the right, but I try and look at it like, as some sort of mediator. I think today's administrations in fire departments, they tend to lean to this, very conscious of public perception. I don't know if that's stuff that's spilling over from everything the police have nationally gone through in the last decade.
Oh, I would say 100% that it's that, and it's the culture shift that we've had in the last 5 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, the culture in the United States has shifted dramatically.
Right.
And I would say not for the better.
No, I would say not for the better. I think some stuff is good, but in general, the wrong things are being worried about too often. Like Kim saying "fuck" on the radio. Like we got bodies on the ground. And fuck your fuck. I mean,
that is the perfect
code word. That I need some support. If I say "fuck" on the radio, I need some fucking backing here. I'm not just saying it to be funny, or to be, Dave Chappelle. I'm just, I'm not making jokes. Like, this is a situation where I need support.
Yeah.
It's not war, but it's not peacetime. If you're out there on those calls.
It almost is. I've talked to military veterans who are good friends that went on to do something other than public service. And we've had and I've always been very upfront, probably same as you. I've always thanking them for their service and being very, not only thanking them, but being appreciative of what they did. They went overseas for a year to a shit show in defense of us. And I've had conversations with some of them and they're like, dude, I'll do a year over 25. And they're not wrong.
Yeah. No, I get it. Get it completely.
It's scary to think about, but yeah, I mean, if you get it working in the busier stations in the worse areas, like those streets are a fucking war sometimes. Maybe not ours, but doesn't mean we're not walking right in the fucking middle of it with a big ass red fire truck.
I know. We're going, there's the places that we go in Birmingham and in these big cities where you guys work. I don't think people know they exist that live within just a few miles of there. I'm serious. I mean, you've been in these houses and neighborhoods and situations, and people are like, really? Like, all my friends were, I tell them, the next day I was like, man, we were in a house fire. And they're like, really? I didn't see it on the news. I was like, yeah, that's because they're in the neighborhoods that never make it to the news, like they're not imagining, I'm not in the neighborhoods you guys don't know. Mountain Brook is the big neighborhood here, like a rich neighborhood. And, if there's a Mountain Brook, it'd be on the news, but it's not. It's in Eagleton. It's in Kingston. So
yeah,
that's not.
I was just having that conversation yesterday with I'm a district safety officer, so I drive the battalion chief around. So we go to all the fires and, you know, car wrecks and all that stuff that need a battalion chief. And we were having that conversation coming back from a meeting. And it's like, yeah, the houses that we go into and the parts of the city that we go into, most people have no idea of what goes on 3 streets over,
Right.
of the type of people that, you know, that need help, you know, that hoarding and just
Our
everything on, down the line. You don't know,
our
because once people go in their house, they close the door. All you
Sure.
see is the outside of the house. That's it. And all from a lot of those neighborhoods, all you see is as you're passing on the interstate, you're like, oh, that looks like a shitty neighborhood. Well, guess what? There's a lot of problems in there.
our
Oh, yeah.
city has a very distinct racial dividing line, and it goes back what 30s, 40s, 50s, 40s or 50s probably. When
Yeah,
a big real estate guy basically, when essentially developed the city, there was no black people on the west side of this line. There just wasn't. And you can still see it to this day. There's a difference in $100,000 between a house on one side of the street and the other. And they have gentrified one part and brought it back. And it's a cool area. I mean, they have these beautiful 3-story, 100-year-old homes, that are just gorgeous. And the same homes are across the street that they're just in shambles. And the white people or the rich people stay on the west side, and the people that can't afford it are stuck on the other side. And it is like, you should come here sometime and see it. It's sad. It really is.
Yeah. Man,
But
how long you guys got on? I know you said you had 19.
yeah, I'm working on 19. I'm 18 and a half. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just hit 6 back in October, which is, it's
Oh, wow.
actually, it's been fun. I've been in EMS since 2009 and been with our department since 2016. And there's a lot of back and forth even between Jeremy and I. His age and my lack of age shows sometimes in our discussions, but
yeah,
but
it's basically, that's a nice way to call me old
no,
without
but
calling me old.
yeah, he's old.
Hey, the older you get, you learn a lot more nice ways to be called old. I get that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, though, I would say it's been beneficial to both of us, probably more me than him, just continuing to learn. But I remember, when Jeremy had first made captain, there was just a simple EMS call. It was kind of a sick patient for a little bit. I think that it was an overdose.
It was an
Yeah,
overdose. Yeah.
So, I mean, they weren't breathing for a minute, I guess. But, and I remember telling Jeremy, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, back your ass up. You're a captain now. Like, let us take care of it. Like, we're fine. And that was, you maybe had what, a month or two as a new captain at that point?
If that,
How
And-
tough is that, man?
Oh, dude, that transition
Man, I know.
sucks.
They did it with lieutenant. They did it. That's how they treated me with lieutenant. And I got written up for using a tool, an extrication tool on a scene. I'm kidding me. They're like, you're supposed to tell people what to do, not do it. And I'm like, can I show them? I mean,
Well, you can, but it's got to be during training hours, and
swear to God, when no one's paying attention.
yeah. Yeah, that was the hardest transition for me, was the going from the guy that does everything to guy that steps back and watches everything. And even with riding out as captain for as long as I was able to before I got promoted and all of that stuff, it doesn't prepare you, because you're doing it for one shift here, one shift there, and you're doing it with the crew that you work with all the time anyway. So, a lot of us, at least until I would say the last couple years on our department, a lot of the crews had been together for considerable amount of time. But we've had some turnover, and, now things are all kind of jumbled up. So you'd be with this crew that you've been with forever. You're riding out as captain. Really, all you're doing is just kind of standing there because everybody knows what their job is. I do this and I do this and I do this, and we just continue on. Like there's no change. And then whenever you get promoted, and for us, we do what's called floating. So you'll be assigned to a district, and then you just wherever there's a vacancy for captain that day, that's where you get put. So you're working with all new people, every different shift. And it's a great learning experience because you get to see how different areas of the city operate and different crews, how they do their own little thing, which is great in that aspect. But it can be a rough transition.
And then there's little assholes like me that come in the door, see he's working. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not listening to you today. And he's like, yes, you are. I'm like, no, I'm not. Fuck you.
Not wearing shoes today.
But
You said you had 35 stations?
35
Okay.
stations, 35 pumpers, 3 heavy rescues, 12 trucks.
Sure, if they're all in actual trucks
Yeah,
now.
for all national trucks.
No.
12. So yeah, 12 ladders, 2 ARF stations. Yeah. So it's pretty our
Pretty big
square
station.
our square mileage is large.
Huge.
It's huge.
Sounds like it. Oh,
It's interesting. So like my station, we have a heavy rescue which has 6 on it, a ladder which has 4, and a pumper which has 4. So we are fairly busy, but like everybody's job's different. We all have different. What I like about our city, and I'm sure probably with Birmingham too, is we know what we're doing the minute we get off the rig. We already have our pre-assigned duties of where we're setting. We know what to do, and it just makes it move that much quicker. Where we have a lot of what we call auto aid with neighboring suburban departments who are great. They're all great at their profession, but they're more of everybody line up and wait for the chief to tell them what to do. So I definitely appreciate the autonomy that our job gives us and through our roles and responsibilities. So
I have tremendous respect for that setup, and that's in the last few years here that they've gotten away from that. So now they just have everyone staged, and they just want one person, i.e., the chief on scene or whoever's in charge, has command to administer responsibilities and action. And again, the majority of my career it was not like that. We would do what you said. You would get off. You knew what you were supposed to do. Dragging hose, throwing tools by the door, whatever. You knew what you were supposed to do, and they've taken that away here. So,
yeah, I know. Like with ours, it's nice. Like on the rescue, we've got 3 teams of 2, and it's 2 on the fire floor, 2 on the not fire floor, 2 in the back door, and it's just boom. And I've even learned since moving to the heavy rescue now, like just little stuff that I didn't know on a pumper. So now I'm looking to see if houses have bars. If a house has bars and I know I'm going to the back door, I may be grabbing our combi tool, our little battery powered extrication tool, start pop. It's taught me a lot. And that's what I like about it is it's even made me more observant and all sorts of different things that, just I'm glad to be in a department of this size that allows that.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
whenever they did that switch with you guys of how you guys were going to deploy, did they give you a reason, or was it gradual, or was it?
They really bought into the incident command system. That was it.
Yeah,
And,
but even running that system,
right,
I
I
mean,
know.
because we run the incident command system
Sure.
Loosely.
yeah, loosely. But like if it's a house fire, and it could be partially just because of the traditions that we have and how spread out our city is, where there are certain areas of the city where if you're on a pumper and you go to a house fire, you may be by yourself for upwards of over 5 minutes, which,
Wow.
I mean, that's a
No,
long
it's all-
time.
I mean, 5 minutes in a fist fight. I mean,
Yeah. So I think maybe that's why they kind of left that aspect of it alone for us. That could be, I don't know.
Yeah, in Midtown, we've got companies.
Uh,
Oh
top
yeah,
of
we're
each other.
tripping over each other trying to get in the front door.
sure. I don't know what it was. This changed. They just it wasn't for the best. I mean, I truly feel like that. I mean, very few people agree with the shift, but I mean that's the way here now. It takes away, like they would justify, saying, "Oh, we have so many new people that don't know what to do." It's like, well, let's train them what to do. Let's tell them what to do when they get off the engine. Get the Halligan, get the pig head. Back him up.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, one of the things that I love doing and I got really good at is getting in those damn burglar doors, man. And I got really good at it with tools. I think that was the one I learned on this job. I would be a very good burglar. Now I'm just saying, I can get into a house easily now. You know, I mean, so and just think about being an officer. They would no way would I mean I would have to do that before any chiefs or captains showed up. You know, they were like, "What? No way!" Get the guy that's only been here 3 months to do it. Like, okay, but anyway,
There's a lot of
So-
things I've learned. I think I would be things I've learned from this job that I would be better at than being a firefighter. I think I'd be a really good homeless drunk. Sitting in those hospital beds getting fed for free is not a bad deal. It's really not.
that said, I got worked up, and I tell these people, like, why do you want to go to the hospital? So I hate the hospital. Like, I hate going to the hospital. There's a shelter here, firehouse shelter, and it's been around forever, but the location they're in now has been there 2 years, 3 years. I mean, it's like a college dorm. It's nice. So when we go there and someone's got a headache to leave and wants to go to the hospital, it's like, why are you leaving here for this bullshit?
Well, because
I mean, if they were on the street or under the bridge, it's 10 degrees outside. But I mean, the firehouse shelter, I'm serious, it's as nice or nicer than the dorms I stayed in college, you know?
well,
So
a lot of that has to do with they can't do their bullshit in those places.
yeah,
So they go out for whatever reason, go to the hospital, get some food, whatever, and then they go to the street. They don't go
right.
back,
No, I know.
And we have the same thing here where we've got shelters and this and that and the other thing. And they just, I mean, they're used, they're full, but we still have people that, no, I'm not going.
Our shelter, we've got one that, and it's a cascade effect. Somebody will call for whatever bullshit, and an ambulance will show up. And before that first ambulance leaves, you'll see 5 of them in a line, because then somebody else is like, "No, I could call the ambulance." Well, wait, I want to call the ambulance, and you'll literally see 5 ambulances lined up outside.
Oh my God. I hate yeah.
You ain't gonna see that on the news though.
See, I know that's something that that's like the kind of things that you say to someone outside of the fire service, and they're like, well, man, I guess they were just sick too. Like, yeah, what a coincidence. They were sick too. They weren't sick too. I don't attention or what. And
See, but that goes back to that whole thing of that knowledge gap of people like, I don't want to say average, but the everyday normal citizen who doesn't see this side of life, they have no clue that this is going on just down the street from them,
right.
And it's like, yeah, this is the stuff that is happening in your backyard. Why are you not pissed about it? Because you don't know. And the news isn't going to tell you. Like, they're going to do their little sensational story, and it's going to be in the cycle for 5 minutes, and then it's going to get buried because they're going to be on to the next thing.
How was the lines personnel relationship with your union down in Birmingham?
It broke up for just a second. Could you repeat that last question?
How was your all's relationship with your union down there?
It's good. Yeah, a friend of mine, Stephen Cook's president. Every scrape I've gotten into, right or wrong, they've had my back fully. I don't know how much influence or support they have at City Hall or with the mayor. It's a pretty anti-administration union. They're very disgruntled with the administration right now. Very.
I think that's the union's job, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. But I mean, I've never, again, more so than ever right now, more so than ever with I think I've been through 5 top chiefs. I think we're on the 5th one since in my career. And, but yeah, short answer, yes. Great union, good union. How about y'all?
We have been very blessed that we have the political pull with our union. We do have the in at City Hall and with the mayor, and we're very, when the union wants to get something done, it gets done very quickly in that aspect. I think some of the things we're still seeing is just a bit of a disconnect between union management and just,
It's the same problem you have with administration.
yeah.
They're not on the street.
Right.
They're just not. So they don't really know what's going on with their membership.
And so
So-
we have gotten a lot of great things done. We have a lot of benefits that a lot of other departments don't have, that sometimes I think we take for granted or forget about. But then it's just, there's sometimes we're like, well, what are you fucking doing? Like, with a
Right.
certain situation. But overall, like I said, the benefits truly for what our job, I think, is what makes it great. Yeah, the pay is average, maybe above average. It's I can pay bills. That's never been a problem with us, but our benefits are definitely second to none. You made, or Jeremy and I have talked before, and it's interesting. We had last episode I was on, we had a gal named Taylor out of
South
South Carolina. It was, I don't even want to say similar story to yours, but basically was done with her career, knew when it was, made a pretty viral post, and we were blessed enough to have her on. And Jeremy and I have talked before, like, how is this career sustainable? How in the hell are you supposed to do the things you do, see the things you see, and come out on the backside of 25 or 30 years and still be worth a shit, still be a normal human?
Yeah.
And more, and especially with people like you, I think sometimes the answer there just is you don't do that time. You don't do 25 years. Sometimes you just recognize when your brain mentally, your body physically has said, hey, we had a good run, but this isn't it.
I think what it boils down to, and I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit. What it boils down to is everybody's got a cup or a box or whatever storage device you would like to call it. And all of the shit that you see and do and all of that stuff with this job gets put in there. And eventually it's going to overflow. And it doesn't matter. I think you can stave off that stuff with doing the things that you need to do to keep yourself healthy, with the physical fitness, your mental health fitness. I think there are ways to prolong that career. But I also think there's needs to be like that little voice that you need to listen to that says, okay, I've done what I need to do. I'm done. I'm going to get out. I'm going to go do something else. And if that's 5 years, if that's 10 years, 15, 25, whatever. And everybody's different. So the size of that container is not going to be the same for everybody. And I think as a culture, we need to realize that and maybe stop throwing shit balls at people that leave after 5 years or 10 years or 15 or whatever and say, oh, well, they couldn't make it. They couldn't hack it and all that. That's just bullshit. It just is. And it pisses me off.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, what is the number? I mean, it's just everyone's different and everyone's experiences on this job are different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can go your whole career, hopefully, without seeing a child die or get killed or murdered or run over anything. But seeing one, I tell people that, like, I've seen so many dead bodies in this job, and okay, but it's the children that stick with you. I mean, they eat you alive. Like, there's no laughing that off. There's no like jokes to be made about that. I mentioned one in an article. I mean, there's been quite a few. It's just,
Well, and it's to each their own too. Like for me, I don't have kids. It doesn't bother me, but I moved my grandpa in full time. So I'm his caretaker at my house, and it's just me and him. And I've seen a lot of elderly abuse and neglected elderly. That's my thing. Like it's okay to have your own
sure,
thing
absolutely.
that gets you,
No, you have to have all of the same things that I have.
Well, and George, like you fucking get it. Like you are blessed that you can. I mean, here's the thing: you can straight up walk away and say, "Hey, I got a hot wife, kids that love me, 2 great fucking restaurants. I don't fucking need this." Like,
Yeah.
you weren't so. Your identity wasn't. I'm a firefighter.
Right.
Your identity is I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a business owner, and I'm a firefighter.
Right. I get that. I tell people I'm truly blessed, and that I don't think everyone has the same support system I do. I think everyone should. You got to surround yourself with the best people. But as far as self inventory, when I left this job, that's what it started with. Just like taking inventory of myself, and like you said, whatever carry case you want, a box, a cup, storage.
Yeah.
Tupperware.
A thimble. So I do have a question for you, George. Since you're in Alabama, hockey, I didn't know that was a hotbed of hockey.
Man, I've been all my life been into hockey. I just when cable first became a thing, I'm older than you guys. When cable first became a thing, they would always play the Rangers games, and I got into it young. I started playing, I screwed around with it, 18 and 19, like roller hockey and stuff. And about 8 or 9 years ago, a friend of mine got me back into it, and I have just become obsessed with the stupid stuff. And we play 3 times a week. My poor wife, I drag her, she keeps score. I've got my own league now. Yeah, we love it. So it's a thing.
I love how he said I got my own league and didn't say I got a 40 and over league.
Yeah.
It's wide open, the league, man. It's all ages. But there's only 3 sheets of ice to skate on, I think, in the state, and we have 2 of them here in Birmingham. So, or in Pelham, which is, 15 minutes from here is nothing. So yeah, I love it, man. You talk about an outlet. It's fun. I got some firefighters that play too. So
we have a department team. I just haven't seen them play in forever.
We have a department hockey team?
We have a department hockey team, yeah.
Really?
Oh, is it like our department softball team that doesn't exist, or department basketball team that doesn't
they got
exist?
uniforms and everything. I haven't seen them play in like 2 or 3 years, I think, since COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, do this.
Things you learn.
I want a t-shirt, so give me one. I'll pay y'all for it. I'll Venmo you.
No, we'll send it to you. That's not a problem at all. George, I'll ask you this for the people that, we've seen the numbers. Hell, our job used to have 4,000, 5,000 person application processes, and now we're down to 400 and 500. To those insane few of us that are still like, I want to be a firefighter, what advice do you have for the new guys?
To go in prepared for anything and be passionate about the job. Going in, I'll tell these guys, a friend of mine's son started as a firefighter, and I've talked to him. My friend's a police officer here, and his son just started. And I told him, it's like, look, just do what, around the station, just be that low man. Do, no problem. I'll get this. Be willing to do, whatever you have to get through the shift. You'll learn the respect of the people that you work with. I'm talking about both on fire scenes, cleaning up around the station, the shit work, whatever, that even as a lieutenant, I would still do the shit work. I felt like that was part of the camaraderie, taking out the trash, washing the engine, all that stuff. I didn't want to just sit and hide behind paperwork. God. So, just be prepared for anything when you're on a call, anything, literally anything. And, that's about it.
Yeah. Pay your dues, earn your place.
Sure, absolutely. Pay your dues.
Yeah. That seems to be a foreign concept in today's culture.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
It is weird though. It's the same in Birmingham, like with the numbers, when I tried to get on, it took me going through twice and having, I had some pull, because of my dad and my sisters worked for influential law. To get the job, but there were thousands of people trying to get on as the fire department. And now, they're practically stopping people, on the street and asking if they want to work, So.
Yeah, it's nationwide, man. I mean, pretty much everywhere is hiring, and they're just not getting the applicants that they did 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
So, and like I said, yeah, it's nationwide. I've talked to firefighters in California and Washington and New York and all across the country. It's the same way. And I don't know what the shift was, if everybody thinks they're going to be Instagram famous or like what the deal is, but this newer generation, it doesn't hold the allure to them. Like it's not the calling that it was. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, they just see it as a job, and some people might not even see it as like, oh, that's something that I could do or I want to do. So
It does. And George, obviously, I brought you on because of your article, but it poses the question: are we doing a disservice to the job ourselves? Right. So, like, you get a new guy that's like, "Hey, I want to be a firefighter. That looks cool," and then we show him your article. Like, are we mad that maybe he changes his mind?
Well, I get it.
Like
I
when we
think
tell them the reality of it,
it kind of seems like every generation is a little bit softer than the one before it. I don't know. I mean, like if you showed me that article, back when I started, I'd still do it. Like I wasn't trying to, smear the firefighting. I was like, this is how it's been. It's been great. Delivered a baby. My God, it was awesome. I've done some really experienced really cool stuff out there. But the good, the bad. I mean, again, it's just, do you want to do a job that matters? And is that job still the same as it was when I started? I don't feel like it is. I think that's a big part of why, people, I mean, it's not just the only reason. I mean, post-COVID, it seems like there's tons of, sorry, post-COVID, that like all of a sudden no one works anymore. It's weird. Like, I don't understand how people are paying their bills. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Like that, and my wife and I were talking about that the other day. Is like, where did everybody go?
We deal with the same thing at the shop. Like, as I work part-time in an automotive shop, and we'll get applications. People will show up for an interview or ghost us for an interview or ghost us after an interview. And I'm just like, well, where the fuck you working then? Like,
Yeah, because everybody's hiring. It's
yeah,
not like we're the only ones, and you go to like, even you go to Target and you see like 3 people working, or Walmart or Starbucks or wherever. And it's like everybody's working short staffed. So that's a good question. How is everybody making their money?
yeah,
Not
where
everybody started an Etsy page and is, you know,
Man, I hate through podcasts because we ain't making shit.
I know.
don't even start. Don't start with me.
Fun.
What?
Ooh.
The thing.
The thing? No, you're saying the thing.
I'm not saying the thing.
You're saying that you didn't even ask him for closing thoughts.
I know, because I'm pointing at you two.
No, you're doing it.
Excuse us, George, while we have a little lover's quarrel. I'm not fucking doing it.
Yeah, you are.
God damn it. Sorry, George. Sorry I had to witness mom and dad fighting. Well, brother, closing thoughts for this episode. We're very thankful you came on. What do you want to give us for your closing thoughts?
And I appreciate you guys having me, for starters. Just closing thoughts, that I have so many friends, men and women, in this profession, and I just take what you can from this profession, and don't let it, like you said, don't let this job be your only identity. I think it's very easy to get a bleak outlook on humanity in this job, and I do, and I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying, even a bit of therapy. Don't be scared to ask for help. I mean, I'm not talking about like help with your mental health. Therapy. Talk to someone. Don't let it become this bottle of darkness inside you. To be cheesy, find an outlet, and that's about it, man. and surround yourself with people that support what you do and can understand the frustrations that you're going to bring home, you know. That's it.
Jeremy, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll echo everything that he said pretty much is, take out of this job what you can and don't let it consume you, because you are more than just a firefighter. There's a whole aspect of your life. You might spend a third of your life at the station if you work at 24/48. That's still 2/3 that you're not there. And you got to make those days count. And you got to do what you need to do to keep yourself fit and healthy for the rest of your life. Because at the end of the day, you might spend 17 years on the job, you might spend 25, you might go 32. But that's only 32 years of your life. It's a big chunk, but it's not all of it. You ultimately, most people spend more of their life out of the career than in the career, right? So make sure that you're healthy when you walk out the door. And that's goes for physical health and mental health. So take care of yourself.
And I hate to say I'm echoing both of you guys, but in a sense I am when I say that, I think George is another great example of why it is important to A, have a different identity, but B, just to continue to work on yourself. Best case scenario, you prolong your career, but then also it's okay to know when to walk away. It's just all right to say, hey, I've done my dues. I've done what I can to to continue my dues. I'm at a point now for myself, my family, those I love, my own mental health, that it's time to find something different. I would rather work alongside someone that knew their boundaries of when and when not to be there instead of someone that should have left a long time ago.
Absolutely.
Michael Jordan.
I still would have played with Michael Jordan today.
He's the perfect example, though.
Well, George, brother, you are officially a friend of the show. You are welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you.
We love you. Thank you.
Have you guys back. Y'all be safe out there. Keep in touch. All that good stuff. I'll let you know when I'm in the area. I'm traveling soon, so
hang out with us for hang out with us for a quick second after the show. If you are struggling, reach out. There are options available. There are so many different outlets, whether it be hockey, whether it be starting your own restaurant, whether it be counseling or even yoga. There are so many different options available to help with yourself. And if you know someone that's struggling, reach out, be that friend, be that resource for them. And with that, thank you for stopping by.